All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, talking about the new UNLV hire, of course, TJ Otzelberger. We just played the interview I did with Desiree Reed-Francois. Certainly some of the questions I asked her she didn't like very much, but it's my job to ask the tough questions, and if they don't want to answer them, that's up to them. That's fine. They have that right, but we are not like perhaps certain other stations or certain other members of the media that are going to ask the same boring fluffer questions. Now, I have nothing against TJ Otzelberger. I hope he succeeds here. I just disagree with the hire. I hope it works out. I hope I'm wrong. But when I bring up names like Eric Musselman or Mike Miller, Larry Eustachy, Steve Lavin, and the answer I get from Francois is, well, we're looking for energy, passion, competitive. Tell me those guys don't have those qualities. Tell me those guys aren't proven. That's where I disagree. We're going to take your phone calls now, and just in a few minutes, my interview with TJ Otzelberger. The number to call, 257-5396-702, 257-5396, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Jim, you've been waiting very patiently on hold. We appreciate that. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. And yourself?
Doing good, Jim. What's on your mind? What did you think about that interview with Desiree?
Where do I start? She sounded extremely polished. She sounded extremely well-rehearsed. She sounded extremely disingenuous. She sounded extremely like a politician. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, when are the Board of Regents going to get tired of the same old, more of the same, and start cleaning house, starting with her office?
I don't know. I think that if the you-know-what hits the fan by year 2 or maybe year 3, then I think that probably will happen. But to be honest with you, I don't think Desiree Reed wants to be here. That's just my personal feeling. I don't think she wants to be here, and I think she's trying to climb up the ladder of her career.
I think she's saying what she thinks is the right thing to say in her best interest at this point for that purpose.
I don't want her here.
Well, you're not the only one that feels that way, Jim. I mean,
let's get rid of her instead of going through a coach every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of several other people with the bona fides that would be happy to have an AD job, even for UNLV.
I don't disagree.
Brian, do you think Pat Kilkenny would consider something like this?
No, he wouldn't. No. Pat used to be Pat. For people that don't know who Pat Kilkenny is, he used to be the athletic director at Oregon. He's worth about $1 billion. No, he would not take this job. No. Jim, what do you think about this coach? What do you think about the hire?
My fear is it is going to be more of the same old.
Yeah. You know what? I think this is. I hope I'm wrong. I think this is an upgrade from Marvin Menzies.
But believe me, I want to be wrong about this one. My fear is that it's going to be more of the same old mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, mediocrity, as far as any team is concerned, is not acceptable.
You know what I think is, from square one, you know what I think is a grade we can give this guy right away? I want to know if Shakur Houston stays. I want to know if Amari Hardy stays. If he can get this entire team to stay, at the very least, I'm going to say he's a pretty good salesman, and he's, you know what I mean? I think this is the
if
first.
If he can get the entire team to stay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll even go better than that. If he can get the starting lineup to stay.
Which is Shakur Houston, Amari Hardy, your top 2 players. Now, Tomboy is another one.
I don't want the whole team.
Right.
But at least the starting 5.
Right.
If he can get them to stay, I will start him out on a C base.
And you know what? I will go on the radio and I'll say, great job. Phenomenal job. Now the next step is recruiting outside. But I'll tell you, I'll
start him off with a C.
Yeah.
And, where he goes from there is on him.
But you know what, Jim? I'm concerned about something already. Well, I'm concerned about a lot of things, obviously. I've been talking about it all for the last week. But he told his players at South Dakota State, honor your own scholarships there. He's not bringing any of those players with him. I don't like that. The guy's getting paid $1.1 million, okay?
He's not bringing David Jenkins?
He's not bringing anybody. He made that very clear today, okay? And he said that. So that's a problem. Jim always – yeah, go ahead.
I actually can appreciate that.
Well, I mean, you could call it.
That shows that even as he's leaving,
right.
he's teaching these young men integrity.
That's fair. That's a fair point. That's a fair point, but we also need a point guard. So I don't, they got some pretty good guards over there at South Dakota State.
David Jenkins is a tremendous player. He averaged 20 points a game last year, and he's from Tacoma, Washington. So I'm very surprised he wouldn't attempt to make that work.
Jim, it's always good to hear from you, my man.
One thing I will say, Jim, is that I don't see this coach making excuses like Marvin Menzies did when things went south. I don't think we're going to have a lot of excuses with this coach.
I hope not. Hopefully there won't be any racial epithets towards TJ Otzelberger. Anyway, the number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. We're going to hear from our new basketball coach coming up here in just a few minutes. Shad, you've been waiting patiently on hold. How are you?
Hi, Shad.
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Good. Hey, just want to say I've been a long-time UNLV fan. I actually had box seats, 88, 89, 90, when we went to the Final Four, even won the Final Four. And I'll tell you, there was something different that was going on, and I think it was even different with the athletic director. We had Brad Rothermill, and he was fantastic, and I think there was a relationship. So when we talk about the coach, I hope he does well. Like, I want our team to do well. I hope this guy comes in and can do something. I think that he was a hire based on an athletic director who doesn't have confidence in herself and her power, and that's why he constantly looks towards those younger in that run of that mill, people that she can somewhat connect with on an age group. But when people have that type of put a Rick Pitino in front of her, she's going to be a little intimidated and not know how to bring someone on. Aside from the fact that we're not going to be able to pay someone like Rick Pitino, what some of those big teams are going to be able to pay. Well, but when she speaks about, sorry, go ahead.
If you listen to her interview, she actually stated that they have the budget. They have a big enough budget to make these things happen.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that she stated, we have the budget, but you don't really have the budget when you think of who we're up against with some of the bigger teams.
That's true. Let me ask you this, Shad, okay? Because it's interesting you bring that point up, and I brought up a few names. 4 of these 5 coaches I know personally. Okay, and one of them, I know somebody on their staff personally, okay? Let me name these names for you again, because this is important. Eric Musselman, Larry Eustace, Bo Ryan, Mike Miller, Steve Lavin, all those guys were interested in this job. I know 4 out of the 5 that absolutely would have taken the job for the money they offered this Otzelberger coach, maybe even less. So what do you make of that?
I just think it's her she's under pressure. She hired before she fired before she hired. She fired before she knew what she was doing. She came in a lot of pressure. March Madness is going down. There's a lot of coaches losing their jobs. She had a pressure to grab onto someone who lost quickly. She could grab on before they went on to something else. I feel like it's just lack of confidence.
And that's a great point. What if
another caller who said, I believe that, it's about, excuse me. Another caller said something about the confidence or whatever, what she was doing.
Right.
I just think that she's young, she's intimidated. I think she's intimidated by seasoned coaches, and it speaks of lack of confidence. And that's not what's going to help us. We need that connection with finding the right coach. She had serious pressure with that firing. We need a recruiting coach. And this. You can't bring in this younger 3 years in coach that's not going to drive players. He's not going to bring someone with him. There's not a player, even though he had some great players, one in particular.
Who he didn't recruit, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to give up a year of playing, a year of stats, because that's what drives what's going to give them up. So it's kind of crazy to think that. So
here's a question. Do you think that if South Dakota State was in the Sweet 16 right now, that this guy would be the next head coach at UNLV?
Oh, absolutely not.
No chance.
He wouldn't be talking to him. The agent would have said no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. Shad, it's good to hear from you. You made a lot of good points in that phone call. Very good call, my friend. Thank you so much.
Shad.
A lot of good points. I think he made about 20 good points.
You know what says a lot about Desiree Reed-Francois is the fact that, despite the fact that either she's totally unaware of what's going on social media, which I find that hard because she's always tagged in these Twitter posts.
Right.
But despite the fact that 90% of people on Twitter were in favor of Mike Miller, she doesn't even give this guy an interview.
That's concerning, and that's why I asked that question, which she did not answer. And I understand
she's just trying to prove a point, no one can push her around. If that's the case, this is not the job for her. Sometimes the public is correct.
If she doesn't want to give me the reason why, that's fine. I understand she wants to keep this stuff private. I am not going to fault her for that. What I am going to fault her for is not interviewing some of these other people. And she said she gave a list to this guy Fogler, right? I really want to know what coaches were on that list. I would do anything to know the list. You know what I think the list was? Guys like, Mike Rhodes, guys like Oates, And I believe T.J. Otzelberger was probably on the list as well. I believe she's telling the truth with that. I don't think that list had any big names. And I don't think that list had anybody like a Mike Miller or Steve Lavin or Eric Musselman or Larry Stacey. And to me, that's a problem. Well, and to me, that's a mistake.
If that's the case, then why is she bragging about having the budget?
That's a good point. It's a good point. 257-5396 is the number to call, by the way. 702-257-5396. Let's play the interview. And keep in mind, this wasn't a one-on-one like I had with Francois, and we appreciated her doing that. There's a media scrum. There were a couple other people there asking these questions. But here's the interview and catching up with new UNLV head coach T.J. Otzelberger.
Yeah, fired up. Like, the history of this program resonates with me. Like I said, I grew up as a kid. I remember having my UNLV Parker that I wore in 7th or 8th grade and shooting some Stacey Augman fadeaways and Anderson Hunt long-range jump shots. So really was excited, humbled to even be considered, and thrilled to be with you here today.
Coach, you made a real point to talk about re-recruiting the guys, and you looked at them often. I mean, can you just expound on the importance of telling them what you believe they can do here?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of film on each of those guys individually. I've studied their game, their background, their history, know most of their nicknames. So they are absolutely the core of our program, and as we build and move forward, they're the most important thing. And so I want to make sure they know they're the most important thing. I want to make sure that the time I invest in them reflects it. They can help me immensely so I know how things have been going, how we can improve on things. And so I'm going to lean on those guys a lot.
Can you talk a little about your staff? Do you have a staff already in place?
We don't have a staff in place. I think as we get further along today, I'm going to visit with Desiree and talk about some possibilities. But I'd like to meet with some of the staff members that were here, understand, they're in a tough spot too, and learn from them, see if there's members of the former staff that could be a fit. But it's something that we're just getting started on now.
A description we often hear with your name is you're an offensive innovator, an offensive guy. What kind of informed your philosophy, and how do you keep progressing in that?
I was fortunate to have opportunity. Fred Hoiberg I worked for at Iowa State, and he moved on to the Chicago Bulls, and also Greg McDermott, who's now the coach at Creighton. And those guys are regarded as two of the better offensive minds throughout the country. And so I've kind of tried to take things from each one of them and employ those. And been fortunate to coach some very unique players, especially at Iowa State, some mismatched players that give you some offensive advantages. And so I think we have a strength. I've had Mike Dahm at South Dakota State, who's a mismatched player. We had players at Iowa State, George Niang, Royce White. And so those guys with those unique skill sets make sense to me. And I think you put great players in space and let them make plays, they'll take care of the rest.
You said you wanted guys who will graduate. How important are the 4 and 5 stars and McDonald's All-Americans too?
Yeah, I think for us, the evaluation process, there's a piece of basketball, academic character, sense of passion and pride in wanting to be here. And so we're not going to get caught up in where a guy's ranked. It's going to be about fit. If they embody the same core values that we have, certainly we want elite and talented student athletes that can do great things on the floor, but it's going to be about the total student athlete.
Can you talk to the fans maybe who have not been going to games the last couple of years? I know you were asked that a little bit in the press conference here, but what would you say to those fans who have not bought season tickets the last couple of years? What would you say to them right now?
Give us the opportunity to earn your trust. Give us the opportunity. Come out. Give these guys a chance. Show it's going to be a product that they're going to be take a great sense of pride. We're going to play hard. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Be on the ground level of something that we're going to build special. It's going to be very special.
You said you watched the game film, you've seen the players, you know their nicknames. How much tweaking do you have to do or not do when you re-recruit them that fits right into your style, where it's going to just be a perfect blend and the chemistry will work right off the bat? Or is there some work to do?
Yeah, I still need to learn a lot more about each of the individuals, because you watch the film and I've watched the clips, but then you have to see how it all fits together. And why did this happen? Why does this guy playing more minutes? Why does his confidence? And so there's all these independent variables. I think we have all the makings of the guys that are on the roster that returned from last year. Now it's my responsibility to re-recruit those guys. And so I don't know at the end. I want to make this the opportunity that they know that they can have the college experience here that can prepare them to move forward. That'd be better than anywhere else, but that's on me to prove each day through my effort and actions.
Coach, you have, of course, talked about re-recruiting these guys here. What do you have as far as possibilities of players coming from South Dakota State here to UNLV for this program?
You know, I've told the guys that I coached at South Dakota State and the recruits that are committed there that they need to honor that commitment. They need to stay. They went to South Dakota State. We recruited them under that pretense. That's where those guys need to stand for them and evaluate that as an option.
Coach, what does this program look like in 3 years? Right now, we're standing here. What do you think it looks like?
Well, it's going to be exciting. Look, I think a lot of these guys we're going to build around, but we're going to add some valuable pieces. It's going to be an up-tempo style, exciting, fun team to watch play, a team that's very competitive on the defensive side of the floor, and a team that's competing at the top of the league to win the championship.
And as far as wins and losses, what do you want? I mean, in 3 years from now, what are your goals? You know, not just year 1, year 2, year 3. Do you think like that? Do you think, okay, this is my goal down the road, this is my goal next year? Like, what are your immediate goals, and what are your goals 3-4 years down the road?
I'm very process-driven, and so for me, it's what do we need to do today to get better? What do we need to do tomorrow to get better? Right now, I don't have a strong enough knowledge of, what players might be returning, what we might need for next year's roster, so it's hard for me to predict the wins and losses in the short term. I believe in recruiting student athletes out of high school. Ideally, you get 4-year players, and you build a program based around player development. And so we want to develop those guys. And so we're going to recruit talented guys. We're going to develop them. Like I said, I can't tell you exactly wins and losses. I can tell you we're going to be highly competitive in the Mountain West, and we're going to be a team people don't want to play against.
We've heard your emotion. We've heard your passion. We've heard your goals. When you met with Desiree, what were her, in a sense, demands in that this is what she wants in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? What demands have you been given?
Well, I could sense Desiree's passion and enthusiasm. She's got a lot of energy. She wants a team that's going to play hard. She wants a team that's going to go for 50-50 balls. Desiree's a builder. If you look at the places she's been, she's a builder. And so to me, she wants something that's sustainable over time. It's not about a short term. It's about, yes, we want to win games right away. We want to win games next year. But it's absolutely about having a vision to continue and grow and develop this program and sustain something for a long period of time.
In the past 48 hours, of course, you got a gauge on what you're about to embark on as far as Rebel Nation, the fans, and the media, of course, all the Rebel Nation here, and how they're going to react to you.
Yeah, absolutely love the passion and enthusiasm. And we've felt it all morning long. My family's felt everybody's been so welcoming, the family atmosphere and the enthusiasm. And so to hear all the stories of the fans, alumni, former players, how much they love this program and how much they want to be part of restoring it to national prominence, I mean, it's inspiring, and it helps. We're, like I said up there, like, this is about togetherness and everybody going in the same direction, and that's my job and responsibility, is bring everybody together to do some great things.
On a personal level, this is a big change of scenery and life for you, right? So away from basketball, what do you appreciate about this city? What do you like about this city?
I think there's the diversity, the culture, the opportunity, great schools, and suburbs and things for a family. Like, you think about Las Vegas from a tourist standpoint, you think the Strip. And so for my wife, once we've kind of gone through this process and you learn about all the great places to raise a family and have that, that's always going to be number one for me, at the forefront of all our decisions, is being a husband and father. And so to see the excitement that Allison had about the opportunity to raise our family here was really cool.
Do you remember the first time you ever came to this city? And do you remember what you thought when you... What did you do the first time you came to Vegas?
I don't know.
You can tell us.
I don't know if I can remember or if it's a selective memory, but no, I'm trying to recall
what you can tell us.
And quite truthfully, I think it was one of my high school coaches. He and his wife were out here, and I came out and just remember the bright lights and the excitement and the energy, and really can't remember a whole lot past that, and certainly not sure that I would want to.
You mentioned about the fans, and that you recognize how the fanfare that's here and the love for this program. But over the past few years, and then some, it's become truculent. Are you prepared to tackle that and overcome that and sort of win over the fan base that's become truculent with the program, the media, and just overall UNLV basketball?
Absolutely. I mean, Coach Kruger and I have had a lot of conversations, and he assured me, he said, TJ, you go there, you build it the right way, you bring in student athletes who are about the right things, you play hard, you have success, that people want to be a part of that.
All right, there you go. That was TJ Otzelberger. We caught up with him earlier today. I think he liked that question about Vegas. Some of those stories you couldn't really remember, but I'm sure he seems like a guy that came out here and had a good time. There's nothing wrong with that.
I can appreciate the honesty.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some more of your calls. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Your reaction to that interview with TJ Otzelberger. We will take your calls. Coming up after the break at 257-5396. Again, 257-5396, the number to call. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.